Good morning. You're looking at a live view of Starship as we await its fourth flight test from Starbase, Texas, also known as the Gateway to Mars. Thanks for tuning in. We're excited to be joining you once again from Spacex headquarters in Hawthorne, California. As you can tell, the crowd is getting excited behind us. We're here in front of Mission Control Center. Now, we are targeting liftoff at 7:50 a.m. Central Time in just over 30 minutes from now. It's been roughly 2.5 months since our last Starship flight test, and the turnaround time between these tests just keeps getting shorter and shorter.
Today, we hope to surpass what we achieved in Flight Test 3 in March. Our primary goal is to get through the extreme heat of Starship reentry, which is no easy feat. As with all of our flight tests, our goal is to collect as much data as possible. Every flight gets us another step closer to a fully operational Starship. Starship is the most powerful vehicle ever developed and the first design of a rocket that is capable of making life multiplanetary.
Starship will allow us to land humans on the moon again after more than half a century, fly the heaviest payloads ever flown, and ultimately fly humans further into space than ever before. Getting there will require us to fly frequently, which is why we're producing so fast. We already have hardware built and are preparing for our next several flights.
But the most important thing about Starship is that it's designed to be fully and rapidly reusable, and of course, reliable. We've been designing from day one to realize a vision of having an entire city of people on Mars, something we know will take launching millions of pounds of cargo and equipment into space spread across thousands of launches.
The faster we can learn now, the faster we can improve and evolve Starship to achieve this vision. And that brings us to today's flight test, the fourth of many that will get us one step closer to Mars. But before we dive into the details of today's test, let's do a quick rewind and talk about our last integrated flight test, Flight 3. On March 14th, Starship successfully lifted off at 8:25 a.m. Central Time from Starbase, Texas. It cleared the launch tower and went on to accomplish several major milestones and firsts. All 33 Raptor engines on the Super Heavy booster started up successfully and completed a full duration 2-minute and 41-second ascent burn.
Then we saw our second ever hot stage separation, powering down all but 3 of Super Heavy's Raptor engines and then igniting the ship's 6 Raptors to create separation. Next, Super Heavy completed its flip maneuver and ignited the 13 center engines for the boost back burn to send it towards its splashdown point in the Gulf of Mexico. All 13 engines ran successfully until 6 engines began shutting down, triggering an early end to the boost back.
After descent, we attempted the first ever Super Heavy landing burn, which uses the same 13 center engines that we used on boost back. Since 6 of those experienced the early shutdown in the boost back burn, we attempted the landing burn with the remaining 7 Raptors, and 2 of those 7 reached main stage ignition. In the end, contact was lost with the booster at approximately 462 meters in altitude over the Gulf of Mexico, just under 7 minutes into the mission.
Post-flight data reviews showed that the early boost back burn shutoff was most likely caused by filter blockage where oxygen is supplied to the engines. We saw a similar issue on Flight 2 and had added hardware to mitigate it, which worked to get us to our first ever landing burn attempt.
Now, for today's flight, we upgraded those filters further and made some additional hardware and software changes to increase our chances of igniting all 13 engines for the landing burn. Now, turning back to the Flight 3 ship, we saw all 6 Raptor engines start successfully and powered the vehicle to space, marking the first time we completed its full ascent burn.
While coasting, we completed some additional. We can proceed again to T0.
However, once the water for the deflector system begins flowing at T minus 10 seconds, any issue after that would be an automatic scrub for the day, as teams would need to refill the deflector's water tanks, as well as the lock storage tanks at the tank farm before making another attempt. So, as Dan mentioned earlier, we are not planning to hold at the optional T minus 40-second mark. That moment basically was what would allow teams to wait for final checkouts or assess prop levels or avionics, vehicle pressurization, the range, the weather. Weather is 95% go. As you can see from these incredible drone views that we have and pad cams, it is a beautiful day. Of course, we have some clouds billowing from the LOX there.
Yeah, and again, a reminder that the payload for this mission is data, and our primary goal is to get ship through the extreme heat of reentry today. We're very excited to see that. We did get very close on Flight 3, so I'm excited to see how these iterations that we've made to the vehicle will help improve our chances of success today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just as a reminder for the booster, now we are not attempting to recover any hardware today, both either on ship or booster. For the booster, we will be attempting to perform a landing burn to have a soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. We made some improvements from our Flight 3 learnings, so hopefully that will work and we'll see a successful soft splashdown. For the ship, we're hoping to demonstrate controlled re-entry, including a flip maneuver and landing burn, and that will be followed by splashdown in the Indian Ocean. That is the same target as we had on Flight 3, so everything should look pretty similar in that regard. And we just heard the call out there that all prop load is closed out, so at this point, there is like 10 million pounds of propellant on board Starship, which is incredible.
This is getting very exciting. We are just about 2 minutes away from T0.
And as Jesse just said, we are under 2 minutes away. So prop load is complete. All the fill drain lines into ship and booster have closed. Right now we're doing the pushback, so clearing out all those ground lines of propellant. And that'll be completed over the next couple of seconds. We're coming up on that T-minus 40 mark. Again, not planning to hold. If we do, or if we get a hold after we pass it, we can snap back to that T-minus 40, and then we can stay there for about 30 minutes or so if any other issues crop up. Once we pass T-minus 40, a lot of things happen, both on the vehicle and the ground. It's running a lot of its own self-checkouts, venting different tanks and pressure lines throughout the vehicle. We essentially built that 40 seconds as that's about how much time it takes for the vehicle to take all of those actions, which is why we hold there. But all of that happens automated. You do a final checkout of the TVC, the thrust vector control, how we're going to steer. And then we see liftoff. So we're under a minute away. "45 seconds and counting."
Good event game met.
All right, now as we close in, we are past the 40-second mark. So let's listen in.
Flight Director
Ty Huntington's going to take us through one more time for a Starship liftoff.
T-minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We have liftoff.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
All right, 30 seconds into flight. The rumbles are still building here in the Raptor's nest. We're seeing 32 out of 33 engines lit on the Super Heavy right now. Coming up shortly is going to be max Q, that maximum aerodynamic pressure as we go uphill on the vehicle.
Max Q.
All right, we just passed through max Q, so we're going to continue on up. We still have about a minute and 30 seconds until we get to stage separation. Starship now flying faster than the speed of sound. All right, so you got a couple of views. You got some ground trackers in your top camera there. You're looking down from the top of the booster in the bottom left, and then a camera in the top flap of the ship looking back in the bottom right, so getting a couple of different looks as Starship heads uphill. Once we get the hot staging, a lot of things happen all at once simultaneously. We're going to light the engines on the ship, starting with the RVACs first, and then the 3 center sea level engines before we're separated. All of that exhaust gets plumed out the side of the hot stage, and then the ship will separate itself. All but the 3 center engines on the booster are going to shut down, so the booster never stops its thrust while we go through this hot stage maneuver. After that, the booster is going to do its flip, start heading back, and then the ship will be on its own power on its way to space. So that should be coming up in just about 30 seconds from now. As of right now, still looking in like 32 out of 33 Raptors lit on the booster. And we'll start to see those stagger down. They're going to turn off in banks, so you'll see the lights on the bottom left screen of the engines that are active start to turn off in different groups, and you'll see those 3 center ones lit.
Booster engine cut off.
Ship ignition. Stage separation confirmed.
Boost back burn start up.
Acquisition of signal. Houston.
Hot stage confirmed. Ship under its own power. Booster boosting back. Looks like all 13 are lit. Kate, we got a booster on the way back to the Gulf and a ship on the way to space.
Acquisition signal. Status.
Ship chamber pressures are nominal.
Ship power and telemetry nominal.
All right, the first stage currently performing the boost back burn. This is expected to last a little over 1 minute. This propels the booster back toward the coast, taking it to a landing in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see on your screen in the bottom left-hand corner, we were only using the 13 center engines from here on.
Boost back burn shut down.
Heard confirmation there of good boost back burn shutdown.
Stage 2 tank pressures are nominal.
Lots of excitement. So right here, this is our view of the jettisoned hot stage. As we mentioned, this is a temporary fix to help reduce the weight of the booster. So we have the super heavy booster. Future iterations will have a lighter weight integrated hot stage structure that won't need to be jettisoned. Now, after we jettison that hot stage, the booster will begin to attempt its water landing in the Gulf. In the meantime, the ship will coast for about 40 minutes or so up to an altitude of 214 kilometers. And after its coast phase, it will attempt a controlled reentry, including a flip maneuver and a landing burn just before splashing down in the Indian Ocean. But as a reminder, we are not attempting.
Trajectory nominal.
Good news there. Trajectory is looking good for the ship, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. At this point in time, as you can see, we have no engines lit on the booster. It is coasting back toward the Gulf of Mexico for a water landing and ship under power of all 6 Raptor engines. There's 3 sea level and 3 vacuum Raptor engines that are lit, as we can see on your screen.
These views have been looking incredible. Super Heavy has been performing beautifully today. And you can hear the crowd is very excited about it. As a reminder for Booster, the primary goal today is to do a landing burn and a splashdown in the water. And we are just about 30 seconds away from that landing burn expecting to begin. And an incredible view from the forward portion of the booster. This is basically on top of the Super Heavy booster where we have jettisoned that hot stage. So now we can see this incredible view of Earth as it's making its way back down to the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, the booster is using the 4 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through atmospheric re-entry. And we are expecting that landing burn here. And we will be igniting 13 engines, and this is a great view. On your left-hand side is 3 views from the booster, and your right-hand side a view from the ship. And you can see those grid fins on your left-hand screen rotating and turning to guide the booster, and there's that landing burn. That landing burn just begun, and you can see the water below. And we have splashdown. What an incredible sight! Congratulations to the SpaceX team!
Ship has entered terminal guidance.
That was absolutely incredible.